Here are the two versions of Brioche Chevron that I will show you in this video. The first is only increases and decreases, and the second is when you have a brioche column in between. In my swatch I increase, then brioche knit 3 columns, then decrease. So in the chart you can see that I give you more options. You can do less or more columns in between. So if you do less, the waves will be lower, so you'll get something like this. And if you do more, the waves will be higher, so it will be something like this. And here the column will be larger, so you can choose how many you want to do. The difference between these two, here the same thing, 3 brioche knit columns in between, but since we have these columns in the middle, the waves are lower. So here I don't see the point of making less than 3 columns in between the increase and decrease. Maybe you can do more if you want to. You'll get something like this, a higher wave here, and if you do many colors, the line will be much nicer. Cast on a multiple of 24 plus 1 symmetry stitch and plus 2 edge stitches. Row number 1, knit the edge stitch, and we start the repeat for this row. Slip on yarn over, knit 1. Slip on yarn over means that you go with the needle under the yarn and slip the stitch, and you have a stitch and the yarn over, and knit 1. And repeat that until you have only 2 stitches left on the needle. And here are the last 2 stitches. Slip 1 yarn over, and the last edge stitch, slip 1 purlwise with yarn in front. After that, don't turn the work, just slide the stitches to the other end of the needles. Pick up the second color yarn. Put the tails together and start. Slip the first edge stitch purlwise, put the yarn in front, and start the repeat for row number 2, and it's brioche purl, slip 1 yarn over. Brioche purl means that you knit together the stitch and the yarn over from the previous row, and then slip on yarn over as in the previous row. So you have to repeat brioche purl, slip on yarn over until you get to the last 2 stitches. And here I have 2 stitches left, 2 because the stitch and the yarn over in brioche is considered as 1 stitch, so this 1 stitch we just brioche purl it, and then the last edge stitch in row number 2, when we knit with the second color yarn, is slip 1 purlwise with yarn in front. In row number 4 it will be slip 1 purlwise with yarn in the back, so pay attention. Now we turn the work, pick up the first color yarn, and we start row number 3. Knit the edge stitch and start the repeat for this row, and it's slip on yarn over, brioche purl. So everything that we've done previously. Slip on yarn over, brioche purl, and repeat until you get to the last 2 stitches. And here are my last 2 stitches. Slip 1 yarn over the symmetry stitch, and then slip 1 purlwise with yarn in front, the edge stitch. After that, slide the stitches to the other end, pick up the second color yarn, and we start row number 4. Slip purlwise the edge stitch and start the repeat for this row, and it's brioche knit, slip 1 yarn over. Brioche knit means you knit together the stitch and the yarn over from the previous row, and then slip 1 yarn over as usual. So repeat brioche knit, slip on yarn over until you have only 2 stitches left on the left needle. And here are the 2 stitches. Brioche knit 1 stitch, and then, as I said, in row number 2, right now in row number 4, the edge stitch will be slipped purlwise with yarn in the back. So in row number 2 is with yarn in front, in row number 4 is with the yarn in the back of the work. Now turn the work, pick up the first color yarn, and we start row number 5, knit the edge stitch, slip on yarn over. Here in this first column of brioche knit stitches, we will do an increase, brioche knit, yarn over, brioche knit, slip the stitch from the needle, slip on yarn over. So in between the increases and decreases we will have 3 knit columns. You can do more or less. You can see in the chart the pattern for each of them, and you just have to choose how many you will have in between. I will do 3 columns in between. So brioche knit 1, slip on yarn over, brioche knit 2, slip on yarn over, brioche knit 3, slip on yarn over, and in these 2 columns we will do a right slant decrease. So slip, knit twice the brioche stitch, knit the next one, pass over the slipped stitch and slip the stitch to the left needle, and pass over the next brioche stitch, slip the stitch to the right needle, and that's the right slant decrease. After that, slip on yarn over, and here in these 2 columns we will do a left slant decrease. So slip, knit twice the brioche stitch, knit together the next 2 brioche stitches, or in fact there are 2 stitches and the yarn over, and pass over the first slipped stitch, and that's the left slant decrease. After that, slip on yarn over, and again those 3 brioche knit columns. So that's brioche knit 1, slip on yarn over, brioche knit 2, slip on yarn over, brioche knit 3, slip on yarn over, and in this column we will increase brioche knit, yarn over, brioche knit, and now slip the stitch from the needle. So this is the repeat for this row. When you have more repeats, I have 2, you just start from the slip on yarn over after the edge stitch and stop here with the increase, and then slip on yarn over and slip purlwise with yarn in front the edge stitch. So this is the pattern row number 5, and then you slide the stitches to the other end, and you have to repeat rows 2, 3, and 4. The repeats as I showed you previously, only I want to show you what you do when you have those increased stitches. So let's start. This is row number 2, but with the increased stitches, so a little bit different. Slip the edge stitch and start the repeat for the row number 2, brioche purl, slip on yarn over. So that's the first stitch from the increase. After that, instead of brioche purl, like the repeat says, we just purl 1 stitch and then slip on yarn over again. And then continue brioche purl, slip on yarn over, brioche purl, slip on yarn over, and so on until the edge stitch. So you just continue and repeat rows 3 and 4 as I showed you previously. If you want to change the colors, the main color, you can do it when you start row number 5 and then repeat the pattern from row number 5 to row number 8 as many times as you want, and then maybe change the color again or add another color as you wish. For this version of the chevron pattern, you have to cast on a multiple of 28 plus 3 symmetry stitches and plus 2 edge stitches. So I have 61 stitches, and the rows 2, 3, and 4 are the same as for the previous version that I showed you. So the repeat is the same, you'll just have a different number of stitches. And I will show you row number 5. So the difference is that in between the increases and the decreases, we will have one brioche knit column. So let's start row number 5. Knit the edge stitch, slip one yarn over. The first column, as I said, is a brioche knit column. After that, slip one yarn over, and here we do the increase. So brioche knit, yarn over, brioche knit. After that, I chose to do the same number of columns in between, 3 columns, just to show you really the difference. So there's the same amount of columns, just on this difference that we have the brioche knit column in between the increases and the decreases. So brioche knit 3, that's 1, slip one yarn over, brioche knit 2, slip one yarn over, brioche knit 3, slip one yarn over, and here we do the right slend decrease, slip knit twice the brioche stitch, knit the next one, slip the stitch to the left needle, I meant to say pass over the stitch, slip the stitch to the left needle and pass over the next brioche stitch, slip the stitch to the right needle. After that, slip one yarn over, brioche knit 1. That's what I meant, that we do a brioche knit column in between the increases and decreases. So in the previous version we just decreased to the right and then to the left. Here we do a column in between. So now we do the left slend decrease, slip knit twice the brioche stitch, knit together the next 2 brioche stitches, and then pass over the slipped stitch. After that, slip one yarn over and brioche knit those 3 columns. That's 1, slip one yarn over, brioche knit 2, slip one yarn over, brioche knit 3, slip one yarn over, and here we have to increase, brioche knit, yarn over, brioche knit, slip one yarn over, and the brioche knit column in the end. Slip one yarn over and slip, provide with yarn in front the edge stitch. And I forgot to tell you that the repeat of the pattern stops here after. So we did the increase, 3 columns, decrease, 1 column in between, and decrease to the left, 3 columns, and increase. That's where the repeat of the pattern stops, and then you stop from the beginning, slip one yarn over, brioche knit 1, increase, and so on and so on. And then in the end, these after the increase you have 3 stitches for symmetry and the edge stitch. Then you have to repeat the same rows from 5 to 8. You can change the color when you start row number 5, and then just repeat rows 5 to 8 as many times as you want to, and maybe then again change the color.